Hey, welcome to the Imitation podcast, and here we have our co-host.
April Ho.
And Ashley Lee.
And my name is Rafael. Lately, I've been having this internal turmoil of really trying to decipher what my real objective is. I attend online class to finish school assignments by 11:59, go to the gym hitting a particular number in hopes to complete the next bigger number. I go to work to punch in my 8 hours, and yet I'm not sure what my purpose of life is. I've had possible career endeavors such as being a captain of a ship, selling drugs as a pharmacist. I honestly do not know what life has allocated for me. Would a daily routine, a new career path, or even finding that special one, would these fulfill this emptiness that I yearn for? Despite the feeling of ambiguity and uncertainty, I don't think I should be discouraged from finding a new objective that may add one more piece to the puzzle. I feel like there's a particular poet here and that's almost in a similar situation as me, and his name is Robert Frost. Let me read my modernist and sonnet for you. People taught me with keeping sentiment still, sometimes wrong to a fault I could never see, seeping deep in my mind, than where the thoughts take me front to a brighter surface place. I am me at the autumn promised rapture, seeking ecstasy in a wreath of bliss and fairy dust. Twice, when snaring with hope against mankind, I discerned as I thought beyond the nebula, through the heavens a glimmer unexpected, something more of the tears, and then I grasped it. Vision came to usher the stagnant doubt. A juice dripped from the stalk and ooze, trembled whatever organ, wiped it out, wrapped it out. What was that texture? Guilt, an ounce of content, for once, then someone. This my sonnet, and I do keep feel from staying at will, and thus my thought will stay at still. I think shallow to find a reason to escape the confines, to flee the treason, and sing while being in a state of bliss. I'll give solitude from the deep abyss. Now I seize the pitied human treasure, hence is the winter of my displeasure, and the dark clouds and the screeching snowstorm, amidst the havoc a person who mourn, and such a quiet he chose not to speak, as calling his home was for him to keep. We will perform and measure time and place that dawns upon us by the light of lace.
Thank you so much for sharing your poem. And I'll be sharing my two poems. It's almost summertime again, the time of sunny blue skies, sandy beaches, and when school is out. It's the season of vacation. And best of all, it's ice cream season. Every summer, I'd head down to the local ice cream shop, like Baskin Robbins, Dairy Queen, or even Afters, holding $1 in my hand, excited and ready for my first scoop. 31 flavors, 31 choices. I wasn't the only one at the shop. There were other families, teens around my age, and other children. They tiptoed over the counter to see what flavors were in stock. Ice cream, vanilla ice cream, was an old-time favorite, and everyone seemed to love it. Chocolate, just like vanilla, is plain and simple. You couldn't go wrong. Mango and pineapple ice cream have just the right amount of tang to them to balance out the sweetness, leaving you wanting more. Mint chip is cool and refreshing. It feels pleasant and melts in your mouth. Pecan pralin is textured and has a bit of a crunch to it. And those who have a more refined taste bud may be a fan of coffee. A rich, fragrant roast that's a bit bitter to balance out the sweetness. You'd be left with an empty paper cup before you'd even get sick of it. When it was finally my turn, they would ask, "Which flavor would you like?" I'd say, "Rainbow sherbet, please." They'd always raise their eyebrows upon hearing my request. Walking over to the end of the counter, they'd scoop from the untouched tub of rainbow ice cream that no one else seemed to like. A perfectly round scoop of color. I bet sunsets tasted like this. Today, I'll be reading 2 poems. The first one is a modernist poem, and the second is a sonnet. Rainbow sherbet. Swirls of bright brilliant pink, orange, green, sweet tang every spoon. Unlike vanilla or chocolate, fresh minty ice cream, you are chosen last. Artificial, with chemicals, you are pushed aside. You are forgotten in the back of the fridge that holds it all. May your tartness appease other palates. And now for my sonnet. Rainbow sherbet. Thou lovely on a cloudless summer day, the slow churning of colors, sweet and bright, sing songs with parlor at mist of May. Green tea, vanilla, strawberry delight. Thou sherbet is so unique, you are alone. Pineapple ice cream's far more tangier. Mango ice cream is just as good on a cone. Plain vanilla beans far more fancier. Thou shalt not fret or be abandoned ice. Pink, orange, green, eat colors every bite. Thy rainbow beauty, tartness shall suffice. Others walk past your splendor, have no fright. Despite others, my love for you is rare. Divine ambrosia, no one can compare.
Thank you, April. I really enjoyed listening to your poems. As for me, I will also be sharing 2 poems today. So, as a child, I was always asked what I wanted to be when I grew up, whether it was an artist or a teacher. I had the option to choose a direction. But in today's reality, the path to a comfortable life becomes obsolete. We struggle between fulfilling our own satisfaction or fulfilling our needs. Some of us are lucky enough to have a plan written out, but many still compete with this modern dilemma. Transitioning into a higher division school, we are told by our peers to seek out activities and subjects that we enjoy. But even then, some still struggle with this. Along the way, we encounter many friends, but many hidden enemies as well. Left with such a challenge, how would you approach it? No matter which is chosen, the result may leave a sour taste of regret and uncertainty, or perhaps a feeling of relief. Today, I have 2 poems with me. I'll first be reading the modernist version, and then I'll be reading the non-modernist version. Whispering Melodies. Whispering melodies of mother songs, replaced with crows who glare in red and look down loudly, forcing soft noises who echo cries for mother that devour me. As for my non-modernist, the whispers of forgotten melodies, dreary noises my heart must succumb, flying towards me, dancing to my pain. Such strangers, such eyes, my pain becomes numb. Look away, I cry, this is my domain. They stare, they laugh. What is to become? Nature's creature, how grim, how alluring. But suddenly, not a sound can be heard. With grace and elegance, mother's calling, hand in hand, comforting me. So absurd. By her, their creator, how appalling.
Wow, that was really nice. I enjoyed everybody's poems.
And what poets did you guys take inspiration from?
Oh, I can go first on that part. For my poem, I imitated William Carlos Williams' Between Walls. And in that specific poem, it's a short modernist poem, and he describes these shards of green glass that he finds behind a hospital alley and how it just shines out compared to this oblique and nothingness that is there. And it really describes how um, Williams is expressing something that society simply doesn't want to mention or something society completely ignores. And I took inspiration to that because in my two poems, I spoke a little bit upon, well, different job opportunities and different pathways that we usually struggle to find and to decide on our own just because we are influenced and impacted um, just from, our peers, our parents, and anyone we come across. What about everyone else's poems?
Well, I did my poem based off of H.D.'s Sea Rose. And well, similar to Carl Williams, H.D. uses the sea rose in her poem to point out a specific message that is ignored by society or it isn't really touched upon. And while many poets have compared women to beautiful flowers, conventionally roses, H.D.'s poem, Her Rose, she doesn't conform to the stereotypes. Rather, she does the opposite and breaks free from these social norms. In H.D.'s poem Oread, she utilizes the modernist techniques to convey queer desire that's only noticeable by certain readers. And I took inspiration from her writing in my own poem, Rainbow Sherbet. So in my poem, I introduce different types of ice cream flavors, and I point out how out of all the choices, sherbet seems to be the least popular among the flavors because it is considered out of the social norm by some, but it doesn't stop the reader, me, from picking it. And my poem suggests that people should live up to their own expectations rather than letting society or social media dictate their decisions. And what about you, Rafael?
Hey, April. So I kind of related mine from Robert Frost to Mr. Williams here. I found that they both narrate like simple, commonplace happenings, almost like in a natural setting. There are kind of like moments of really finding the surreal, like mystery of life. They really both question the significance of like of a self-attachment or finding attachment in other things. For example, in William Carlos Williams, his poem Pastoral, I feel like there's an awfully amount of significance like on the mundane rather than like the and the higher significance parts of life. Like I feel like there's this sense of finding like religion, and even in his example he's um his own words, dog line, essentially dog poop, you know. I feel like that's very interesting because it's very mundane. Why would you compare? But he finds that even more interesting. And I feel like on the other hand, Mr. Mr. Frost, I feel like there's a sense of finding, a sense of purpose, a sense of ambiguity. You know, specifically in his poem For Once Then Something, he specifically narrates down to these specific words: deeper down in the well, beyond the picture, something white, uncertain. There's always this sense of unfulfillment. We never know what does he want as the poet? What does he want as the author? What is the overall meaning that he's trying to portray to us readers? And I really feel like the way it's structured, being a non-modernist, it's very enclosed into 11 syllable with no rhyme scheme. And with it being enclosed, we don't really understand like what's the bigger picture, as I said before. I feel like what he's trying to portray to us, it's like a symbolic poem of never-ending pursuit of knowledge of truth and the the dark void of what really life is. And I feel like at the end of his poem specifically, like there's this there's this white light that he momentarily sees. I feel like this really signifies like truth. Truth is often a second. It's often minute. It's often, it's very, very in the moment. You never really know what it is, but you're always constantly trying to go for it. You're always trying to look for it. You're always trying to find what was that like. All right, thank you so much for listening to the Imitation podcast. And here we have my co-host,
April Ho.
And Ashley Lee. And thank you so much for listening.